Eriana's Vow is an exotic hand cannon new with the release of Shadowkeep and the Season of the Undying. Being equipped as a special weapon and having a sluggish fire rate of 90 rounds per minute, it's a pretty unique hand cannon. It hits pretty hard in both PvE and PvP, but it isn't without its drawbacks. Let's take an in-depth look at the Eriana's Vow exotic hand cannon.
Stay a while and listen.
Eriana's Vow is a reward from the Season of Undying's newly added Season Pass feature. It is acquired at level 1 for Guardians who own the Season of Undying or Shadowkeep, which includes this season when you purchase it. However, for Guardians who do not own this content, they will have to level their side of the Season Pass all the way to level 35 to unlock this. Eriana's Vow comes loaded with the intrinsic perk, Looks Can Kill. This weapon fires special, shield-piercing ammunition. It comes with a scope. It also has extended barrel, weighty barrel extension, plus 10 to range and recoil direction, minus 10 to handling. Accurized rounds. This weapon can fire longer distances, plus 10 to range. Eriana's Vow also has the unique perk, Death at First Glance. Bonus damage when aiming down sights on the opening shot of an attack. This bonus is preserved if the shot deals precision damage or strikes an elemental shield. And Polymer Grip. This weapon's grip is made of a lighter material, plus 10 to handling. Worth noting is the fact that its impact, range, and recoil direction are all maxed out, and that it fires special ammo at that insanely slow rate of 90 rounds per minute. Combining that with all of these perks makes it an extreme powerhouse, and you'll notice that maxed out range in PvP as well. In practice, that slow rate of fire is immediately noticeable, along with the massive amounts of kick after each trigger pull. Thankfully, Eriana's Vow also does massive amounts of damage, given you're landing those criticals. You'd think that with recoil this severe, that'd be a bit more difficult, but honestly, the gun felt very enjoyable to use. Between the excellent sight picture the scope gives you and the rate of fire seemingly being perfectly tuned to the recoil's duration, everything about it makes controlling Eriana's Vow a challenge, but a manageable and sometimes engaging and fun one. Aside from its massive impact, the shield-piercing ammunition it fires makes this gun a versatile powerhouse, especially considering the types of enemies you'll be fighting during some of the Vex invasions and nightmare hunts on the moon. Combining that with its Death at First Glance perk, it gets a little ridiculous. The Death at First Glance perk activates on the opening shot of attack and gives a significant damage bonus of about 30%. The damage bonus persists so long as you either hit a precision shot or damaged an elemental shield with the shot. However, if you miss or hit a body shot, the perk doesn't reactivate for another 5 seconds. It's handy to note that the visuals in your scope do go dim during this and will light back up after the perk reactivates. But if you ask me, 5 seconds is a bit of a long time to be aiming down sights with your scoped hand cannon and not shooting at anything. This perk is really what makes this gun work as well as it does. It's awesome because I find myself substituting it in much of the same usage that I would use something like the Fighting Lion. Does a lot of damage really quickly to an enemy that I can just help my team with. We can just chunk it down right away, break its shields, and get on to that major or whatever the next target is. Overall, Eriana's Vow is an excellent special weapon when used to fill roles similar to weapons such as bows or snipers because of its incredible range and stopping power. But because it has a pretty tight hipfire spread, it can also come in clutch as a replacement for a shotgun or other special weapon in a pinch, although I wouldn't really rely on it. The main aspect where Eriana's Vow really struggles is crowd control. Large groups of cannon fodder enemies like Thrall or Dregs are really not optimal for this weapon, and you'll find yourself getting swarmed by them if you try and use it reliably. Honestly, you're better off swapping to your kinetic weapon, and speaking of kinetic weapons, I feel like this gun pairs excellently with a more close-range oriented option. Something like an auto rifle, submachine gun, or even if you wanted to, you can double down on 2 hand cannons, as all 3 of those weapon types will pair excellently with the Eriana's Vow to make up for the lack of short-range versatility it naturally struggles with. I also gave this weapon an in-depth look in PvP, even though it's not quite my specialty. Eriana's Vow does a base damage of 78 damage to the body, with 124 damage being on a crit, and with its perk active, that bonus damage brings it up to a 103 damage to the body shot, with a 164 to the headshot. Its max range for that damage falloff appears to be in the upper 60s to 70s in terms of meters, as we were all the way across the map and I was losing maybe 1 to 2 damage. But honestly, that won't be much of a concern, seeing as most Destiny maps never even stretch your engagements to this sort of range. All of this weapon's strengths and weaknesses are on display in Crucible and almost exaggerated because of the pacing difference between PvE and PvP content. If you can play to this weapon's strengths and roll with your teammate, control your engagements, you can really mop up on some people with this gun. It's extremely powerful, and with that death at first glance perk, you can really shift the tide of an engagement with a single bullet. However, on the flip side, if you try and take this into close quarters engagements where you don't have the drop on someone, you're going to lose more gunfights than you win. Specifically, shotguns and SMGs are going to be a big issue for you if you try and use Eriana's Vow in the ranges it's not really meant to be used in. And the same can also be said of the opposite. If you're trying to overextend with this weapon, you're going to find a lot of sniper users able to just punish you for that. On the flip side though, if you really do know your engagements and play to the weapon's strengths, this thing is an absolute monster. Clipping barely damaged guardians for an insta-kill? Bingo! Dealing massive damage to help shut down a super? Bingo 1. And a bingo 2. Come fresh out the gates with a nice double? Bingo. Ooh. Bingo. Stop me from getting absolutely domed by a sniper? Your results may vary. But one thing to remember is that I'm primarily a console player. Most of the main issues this gun has are remedied with the good old M&K magic. Combining that sort of control with this sort of weapon has the potential to be downright nasty in the Crucible, especially with the recent nerfs to other hand cannon ranges. But we'll just have to see how it fits in the long term. Overall, I expect it to be a fun niche pick that in the right hands can be an absolute weapon of mass destruction, but in the long run I don't see it tearing up the competitive playlist once the initial hype settles, aside from a couple people who are really dedicated and really like the weapon. The Eriana's Vow also has an exotic ornament available. The ornament is called 4-Way and is currently acquired from the Season of Undying Season Pass at rank 100, only available to those who purchase the Season Pass. I don't know about you guys, but I definitely think it's pretty sick looking. It makes the weapon's aesthetics match its raw destructive power, but my main question is what will happen once this season is over? Are this weapon and its ornaments just going to be shuffled in like we've seen before into the past to things like the Strike or Nightfall playlists? I don't know if the Season Pass mechanic is going to make these things work differently going forward. What do you think? Be sure to let me know in the comments down below. Eriana's Vow also has a catalyst available. You can start towards unlocking this by speaking to the gunsmith Banshee after acquiring the weapon. He tasks you with using Eriana's Vow to finish various playlist activities such as Strikes, Crucible, Gambit, and Vex Invasions. The progress on this is significantly slower than any other catalyst I've earned so far, but it's worth noting that you gain a significant boost to the rate at which you make progress from levels 11 and 22 of Season of the Undying Season Pass. Hopefully these bonuses make earning the catalyst a little bit smoother going forward. According to some recent data mining from Reddit user Mencendiantbias, the catalyst gives Eriana's Vow the perk More to Give. This perk increases magazine size, holstering this weapon automatically reloads it after a short period of time. User Mencendiantbias also details a handful of other catalysts that he data mined, so if you're interested in that, I'll have a link to that in the description down below. But back to the Eriana's Vow catalyst, depending on the significance of this mag increase, combined with that autoloading holster effect, it could be exactly what it needs to shine. Most often I find myself struggling with the Eriana's Vow simply because I'm caught in its slow reload or my magazine needed just one more bullet to finish the encounter. Having the option to stow it, then just swap back and have this powerhouse of a hand cannon reloaded and ready to go is honestly quite a game changer. Still, the increase in effectiveness doesn't quite justify diving headfirst into such a substantial grind. Rather, it might be better to just keep an Eriana's Vow on all your characters and just use it when you see the opportunity. Slow and steady wins the race, because it would be very easy to burn yourself out early trying to grind this one out. I'd recommend waiting at least until you get the rank 11 and 22 bonuses to up your progress rate at the bare minimum. So there it is, the special weapon exotic hand cannon Eriana's Vow. Personally, I absolutely adore this weapon. Aggressive frame weapons have always been my favorite kind of weapons in Destiny, hand cannons in specific, so it's nice to get something that's even more destructive than those. Next stop, heavy hand cannon. But in all seriousness, Eriana's Vow is a versatile weapon that packs a punch in both PvP and PvE content, and I definitely recommend giving this a spin if you get the chance. But that's just what I think, but be sure to let me know what you guys think of the Eriana's Vow in the comments below, and if you liked the video, give it a like and consider subscribing. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye!